Have you ever wondered where your true power as a woman really comes from? Most of us are taught that strength is loud, that power looks like success, status, or control. But what if I told you your deepest, most lasting power isn't something the world can see? It's hidden in the invisible habits you repeat every single day. You see, every woman is already powerful by nature. But that power often leaks, not because she's weak, but because of unnoticed patterns, the small ways we react, overthink, lose ourselves without even realizing it. It's like carrying a vessel of water with tiny cracks. The water seeps out quietly, drop by drop, until one day you feel empty, drained, disconnected from your center. But here's the truth. You don't need massive life changes to reclaim yourself. You don't have to run away, start over, or become someone entirely new. True self-mastery comes from the quiet art of refining small habits, the invisible daily choices that no one else sees, but that shape your energy, your mood, your ability to love and hold boundaries. In Buddhism, we say, the outer world is simply a reflection of the inner one. That means, when your inner patterns shift, your relationships, your peace, your entire reality transforms with them. So today I invite you to look deeper. Don't chase external success alone. Let's explore how reclaiming your quiet habits is how you reclaim your quiet power. Because alignment, not achievement, is the foundation of true strength. In the last video, we talked about where true power really comes from, not from chasing success, but from refining the quiet, invisible habits that shape your life. And today, I want to guide you through the very first habit, a habit so simple, yet so overlooked, beginning your day in stillness. Ask yourself honestly, how do your mornings start? Is it with tension in your chest? The mental checklist already running? Notifications buzzing? The weight of responsibilities before your feet even touch the ground? Or is it with your breath, with your awareness, with your center? There's an old Buddhist teaching that says, when the mind is calm, the world calms itself. That's not just philosophy, it's observable, it's practical, it's real. Because let me ask you, have you ever noticed that when you start your day rushed, scattered, distracted, your entire day feels reactive? Every small stress snowballs. Every unexpected moment feels like an attack. You lose yourself in the noise. But when you start your day rooted, when you sit, breathe, and return to your center, the world may still be chaotic, but you aren't pulled in every direction. You remain steady. That's the gift of beginning in stillness. And here's the truth, it doesn't take hours. Even 10 quiet minutes in the morning can change your entire nervous system. Your breath slows, your mind stops racing. You create space before the world starts demanding from you. Imagine lighting a candle, placing your hand on your heart, closing your eyes. For just 10 minutes, nothing to fix, no one to please, nowhere to rush, just you, being with you. It's in this simple space that true alignment is born. Because power is not always loud. Presence is not always visible, but both start with stillness. The Buddha taught, conquer yourself, and you conquer the world. And the first victory? It happens in those quiet early moments before the world even knows you've woken up. When you claim your energy, when you center your mind, when you choose stillness before the noise, you don't just survive the day, you lead it. So, tomorrow morning, I invite you to meet yourself first before emails, before expectations, before anything else. And in the next video, we'll explore the second habit, one that deepens your emotional resilience and anchors you even more in peace. So stay with me. Your quiet power is just beginning to unfold. In the previous part of this journey, we explored the quiet strength of beginning your day in stillness, where a woman meets herself before the world does. But stillness is only the beginning. Because even with the best intentions, Life has a way of pulling us off balance, with stress, with noise, with emotions that rise unexpectedly. And in those moments, the question is, how do you come back to yourself? The answer is your breath. Let me ask you, when was the last time you truly paid attention to how you breathe? Not the shallow, unconscious breaths most of us take when we're rushing, worrying, overthinking, but the slow, deep, grounding breath, the kind that brings you home to your center. In Buddhist teachings, the breath is more than air. It is a living bridge between body and mind, between chaos and clarity. The Buddha himself taught in the Anapanasati Sutra, when you follow your breath, you follow your life back to the present moment. Think about it. How often do you hold your breath when you're anxious? How often do you breathe high in your chest when life feels overwhelming? And every time you do, your body silently prepares for battle. Your muscles tighten, your mind races, your emotions feel like waves ready to crash. But what if you could interrupt that? What if, in the heat of stress, you chose your breath instead of your reaction? Imagine this. You're in a tense conversation. Your heart is racing, your mind is spinning. But instead of letting your emotions run wild, you pause. You take one slow, intentional breath. And in that space, everything shifts. You don't react from fear. You respond from your center. You no longer get swept away by the storm. You stand steady, like the mountain beneath the clouds. This is the quiet power of mastering your breath. Women who breathe consciously carry a different energy. They move slower. They speak with more presence. They radiate calm even when life feels messy. Others sense it, they may not know why, but they feel safe around her. Because when your breath is steady, your energy is steady, and people feel energy long before they understand your words. Even modern science proves what ancient wisdom has always known. Deep breathing regulates the nervous system, lowers blood pressure, eases anxiety, and increases emotional resilience. With each breath, you're not just surviving, you're rewiring your entire being toward peace. So let me ask you again, when was the last time you truly breathed? When did you last pause, close your eyes, and follow your breath as if your peace depended on it, because it does? Tomorrow, before you face the demands of the world, give yourself that space. 10 slow, deep breaths to anchor your mind, soften your body, return to yourself. You'll be amazed how quickly the storm outside quiets when the storm inside has settled. And in the next part of our journey, we'll go even deeper into the art of observing your emotions without drowning in them. That's where your emotional freedom begins. Stay with me. Your quiet strength is only just beginning to unfold. In the last part of this journey, we explored the quiet bridge between body and mind, the breath. But what happens when even your breath feels shaky? When emotions rise like storms, and your first instinct is to fight, defend, or run? That's where the next quiet skill reveals itself, the art of observing before reacting. The Buddha taught, the one who can pause before action is the one who truly sees. It sounds simple, but in truth, this might be one of the hardest habits to master. Because, let's be honest, how often do we react automatically? A sharp tone triggers our defenses. A hurtful word sparks anger. Silence from someone we love breeds fear. And before we realize it, we've already spoken, already slammed the door, already fueled the fire. But what if just for a moment you learn to pause? Imagine this. You're in a conversation with someone close. They say something careless, maybe even disrespectful. The old habit would be instant reaction words, rising faster than awareness, fueled by hurt, frustration, the need to defend. But now, you pause. You feel the heat rise, but you don't let it spill out. You breathe. You watch your emotion like a wave, rising, cresting, and falling. And in that pause, you realize not every word deserves a reply. Not every provocation deserves your peace. Not every storm needs you to lose yourself. This is not weakness, it's presence. It's the quiet strength of choosing wisdom over impulse. Women who master this art carry a different energy. They don't jump to defend themselves. They don't explain away their worth. They don't collapse under criticism. Instead, they observe their own reactions, the energy of the moment, the truth beneath the noise. And from that stillness, they choose their response with clarity, not chaos. Buddhist practice calls this mindful awareness. Modern psychology calls it emotional regulation. But beyond the terms, it's a simple truth. Space between stimulus and response creates freedom. I've seen it change lives. A woman once told me for years, every disagreement with her partner ended the same way: shouting, tears, doors slamming. But when she learned to pause, everything shifted. She began to observe her own triggers. She saw how past wounds colored the present moment. And slowly, her reactions softened. Their conversations changed. The relationship, once fragile, began to breathe again. And this doesn't just apply to romantic love. In work, in family, even within yourself, the pause gives you power. The space between feeling and action is where your wisdom lives. So let me ask you, when life triggers your emotions, can you pause? Can you watch the storm without becoming the storm? Can you witness your pain, your anger, your fear, without letting it control you? It takes practice. It takes self-kindness. It takes daily, gentle reminders. But over time, this pause, this quiet space, becomes your sanctuary. And in the next part of our journey, we'll explore how observing emotions leads to transforming them, how awareness, practiced daily, shapes not only your reactions, but your entire inner world. Stay close, because your calm, your clarity, your quiet strength are only just beginning to unfold. In the quiet journey inward, there comes a moment when stillness isn't enough, when breath calms the body, when observing slows the reaction. But the patterns, the old stories, they still whisper beneath the surface. That's where a simple but powerful practice reveals itself: writing. Not the kind of writing for others to read. Not polished, not perfect, but raw, honest words poured onto paper like a mirror held up to your soul. You see, most of us live on autopilot. Days blur together. Emotions rise and fall, but we rarely pause to ask, what is truly happening inside me? And so, the same patterns repeat: frustration, self-doubt, anger, disappointment, like shadows following us through life, unnoticed, unnamed, unhealed. But when you sit down with yourself, pen in hand, page open, everything slows. Imagine this. It's the end of a long, messy day. You feel heavy, your chest tight, old doubts circling your mind. Instead of running from it, you sit, you write. Today, I felt small in that meeting. I shrank when my voice trembled. I carried that weight all day. And suddenly, the fog begins to lift. You see the pattern. Maybe it's fear of judgment, an old wound from being silenced. But the moment you name it, it loosens its grip. You breathe deeper. You reclaim space within yourself. This is the quiet medicine of reflective journaling. The Buddha taught that ignorance, not knowing oneself, is the root of suffering. But to know yourself, you must be willing to see yourself. Unfiltered, unpolished, honest. Journaling becomes your daily mirror, not to criticize, but to witness, to untangle the knots of emotion, to trace the roots of your patterns, to see clearly where you betray your peace and where you have the power to choose differently. I've seen women transform this way not by grand gestures, but by the quiet discipline of reflection, a few minutes each evening, peeling back the layers. Some nights, it's gratitude simple, soft. Other nights, it's raw, truth, fear, resentment, unmet needs laid bare. But with each word written, the fog thins, the weight lifts, the cycles lose power. You stop being ruled by old stories. You start writing new ones. So let me ask you, when was the last time you sat with your own truth? Not as the world expects you to be, but as you are, raw and whole. Tomorrow, before sleep steals your awareness, gift yourself a few quiet minutes. Journal your day, your emotions, your lessons. Over time, you'll see what once felt heavy becomes clear. What once ruled you loses control. And in the next part of this journey, we'll explore how letting go, releasing emotional weight, creates space for peace to rise naturally. Stay close. Your inner clarity is ready to be revealed. There's a quiet truth most of us overlook: emotions, when not released, don't disappear. They settle. They settle in your body, your breath, your energy. They tighten your chest, cloud your clarity, steal your peace quietly, gradually, like dust collecting on forgotten shelves. And for many women, this happens daily. A hurtful comment, unspoken resentment, the exhaustion of constantly giving layer by layer. The emotional weight builds. You smile, you function. But deep inside, there's heaviness. You carry storms that were never meant to stay. The Buddha taught, let go, like leaves falling from the tree. But most of us, we grip. We replay conversations. We store disappointments. We hold on to pain as if it defines us. And yet, what happens when a tree refuses to shed its leaves? It suffocates. It cannot renew. Letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing that clinging to pain, anger, or sorrow does not make you stronger, it makes you stuck. Imagine this. You've had a long, draining day. Someone crossed your boundaries. A friend disappointed you. Your chest tightens. Your mind replays every word. But instead of bottling it up or exploding, you choose differently. You sit quietly. You breathe. You feel the frustration rise, and you let it rise, like a wave. You don't judge it. You don't feed it. You simply witness it, crest, and fall. And as it falls, so does the tension in your body. You're not erasing the emotion, you're releasing the grip it had over you. This is emotional detox. It's the daily act of making space inside you. Space for peace to breathe. Space for joy to return. And here's the truth. You don't have to wait for perfect circumstances to let go. You don't need apologies from others. You don't need closure wrapped in neat words. The freedom to release what no longer serves you has always belonged to you. In Buddhist practice, this is called Bungza, the art of loosening your attachment to suffering. Not by force, but by presence. By seeing your pain clearly and choosing not to carry it further. Women who practice this glow differently. They're not hardened by life's storms. They've learned the wisdom of softening, of releasing, of trusting that letting go doesn't mean losing. It means creating space for something new. So let me ask you, what emotions are you gripping today? Where are you carrying weight that was never meant to stay? Tonight or tomorrow, gift yourself a moment of release. Feel it. Name it. Let it drift away, like leaves in the wind. You'll be surprised how light you feel when you no longer carry what drains you. And in our next step, we'll explore how reconnecting with nature mirrors this lesson, how observing the world outside reveals deep truths about the world within. Stay close. The freedom you seek is already taking root. There's a quiet wisdom that speaks to us every day, if only we pause long enough to hear it. That wisdom lives in the trees, the rivers, the changing seasons. It whispers through the falling leaves, the rising sun, the wilting flower. It reminds us nothing stays the same. And in that reminder, we find peace. The Buddha called this truth Thung Impermanence. Everything is born, grows, transforms, and eventually fades. Yet how often do we resist this flow? We cling to control, to fixed plans, to people, to emotions, believing that stability means things must never change. But life doesn't work that way. Nature shows us everything moves. Everything shifts. And when a woman learns to stop fighting the inevitable, she starts to live with ease. Imagine this. You walk barefoot on soft grass. The earth beneath you is cool, grounding. Above, clouds drift, never fixed, always reshaping. The breeze touches your skin, here for a moment, gone the next. The trees stand tall, rooted, yet flexible. Nothing clings. Nothing stays rigid. Even the strongest oak lets go of its leaves when the season calls for it. This is the quiet teaching of nature. When a woman spends time with the earth, walking among trees, watching the tides, Feeling the sun warm her skin, she isn't just escaping stress. She is remembering that life has seasons, that endings are natural, that growth requires surrender. I've seen women bloom in this realization. The woman who once clung to relationships that drained her learns from the tree, sometimes letting go makes room for new life. The woman trapped in self-judgment watches the river it flows past rocks, doesn't resist them. The woman afraid of change notices the flowers they bloom, they wilt, they bloom again. In nature, there is no control, only harmony, only rhythm, only the dance of beginnings and endings. The more you connect with the earth, the more you soften your grip on life. You stop trying to hold people in place. You stop fearing the unknown. You start trusting that even in loss, there is renewal. Even in endings, there is space for becoming. So let me ask you, when was the last time you let nature remind you that you don't have to control everything? That your peace isn't found in forcing life, but in flowing with it? Tomorrow, or even today, step outside, feel the breeze, listen to the trees, watch the clouds shift. Nature is showing you life is always moving. And when you move with it, you find your quiet strength. In the next step of this journey, we'll explore how aligning with your body's natural wisdom, listening to its needs, its rhythms, becomes another key to true self-mastery. Stay close. Your deepest harmony is unfolding. There's a quiet voice inside every woman, ancient, wise, steady, but in a world full of noise, expectations, and fear, that voice is often drowned out. We call it intuition, but in Buddhist wisdom, it's something deeper. It's your Buddha nature, the part of you that already knows, already sees, already holds clarity, even when your mind is confused. The Buddha taught that within each being exists the seed of enlightenment. But like any seed, it requires the right conditions to bloom. And the first condition? Stillness. You cannot hear your inner truth while running. You cannot access wisdom when drowned in fear. You cannot feel guidance when your mind is cluttered with other people's opinions. Imagine this. You're standing at a crossroads. A relationship feels uncertain. A decision weighs heavy on your heart. Your head spins with what ifs. Your friends all offer advice. Social expectations shout at you. But deep down, another voice stirs. It's quiet, soft, easy to ignore. But it speaks not from logic, but from knowing. That is your Buddha nature calling. Women often lose connection with this voice. We're conditioned to overthink, to seek permission, to follow external rules. But the deepest truths cannot be crowdsourced. They emerge from within, from stillness, from courage. A woman connected to her intuition walks differently. She may not always have answers, but she trusts her direction. She isn't easily swayed by judgment, nor driven by fear. Her no is clear. Her yes is steady. And even in uncertainty, she carries quiet confidence because her compass isn't outside her. It lives within. But here's the secret intuition. Whispers. It never shouts. To hear it, you must create space. Daily moments of silence. Time alone in nature. Breath practices. Reflective journaling. These aren't luxuries. They are doorways. Doorways to return to your knowing. I've seen women rediscover themselves this way. The woman stuck in toxic patterns finally hears the quiet, "This is not for you." The woman doubting her worth reconnects to the part of her that says, "You are already enough." The woman at life's crossroads listens inward, chooses from wisdom, not fear. Your Buddha nature never abandons you, but you must choose to meet it. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you trusted yourself? Truly, not your conditioned mind, not your doubts, but that soft, steady knowing within. Perhaps today is the invitation to return to that place. Quiet the noise. Trust the wisdom that's always been yours. And soon, we'll explore how protecting your peace with healthy boundaries amplifies that inner voice, not from walls, but from clarity. Your path doesn't require permission. Your knowing is waiting. We live in a world where technology never sleeps. Notifications, messages, endless updates, all demanding your attention. But have you ever wondered, while you're constantly connected to the outside, how often are you connected to yourself? Technology is necessary. It helps us work, stay informed, stay in touch. But when left unchecked, it becomes the very thing that scatters your energy and steals your peace. You lose yourself in the noise, and the distance from your true center grows. In the Buddhist teachings, there is a very clear principle: renounce craving, renounce unwholesome conditions. It means stepping away from anything that disturbs the mind, that pulls you away from your inner stillness. But this doesn't mean rejecting life or avoiding responsibility. It is about conscious choice, choosing where your energy flows, choosing what nourishes your mind, instead of being swept away by unwholesome distractions, whether they come from the outside world or from the glowing screen in your hand. Think about it. How many times have you reached for your phone before your feet even touch the ground? You scroll through news, social media, other people's lives, long before your own heart has a chance to settle. And without even realizing it, your peace leaks away. Your mind never fully arrives in the present. But you can change that. You can reclaim those quiet spaces that belong only to you. When you truly connect with yourself, you see the difference between using technology and letting technology use you. You understand that constant noise isn't strength. It's subtle escape. That's why every single day, you must create space away from the screen, even just 10 minutes of quiet. No devices, no notifications, no external demands. And in that space, your mind softens, your breath slows. The voice within the one buried under layers of noise rises up, clearer, steadier, more honest than ever. Science confirms this mindful tech breaks reduce anxiety, improve focus, support emotional balance. But beyond the science, it's spiritual. The Buddha taught that freedom comes when you loosen attachment to what disturbs the mind. And in today's world, constant information overload is one of the greatest disturbances. Mindful disconnection is not rejection. It's returning home to yourself. It's remembering that before you give your energy to the world, you must first nourish your own being. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you let your mind truly rest? Not distracted, not scrolling, but still, present, aware. Today, even if only for a few minutes, unplug. Put the device down. Let the nervous system settle. You'll realize, beneath the noise, your true self has been patiently waiting. And in the next step of our journey, we'll discover how protecting your energetic space shapes not only your mind, but your entire emotional world. The power to return to your center has always been yours. There's a kind of silence, not born from fear, nor from avoidance, but from presence. A silence that holds space, observes, and listens beyond words, beyond reaction. In Zen tradition, silence is more than the absence of sound. It is a doorway to seeing things clearly. When you are no longer rushing to respond, when you are no longer driven by emotion, the deeper truths start to reveal themselves. Most people fear silence. We fill empty spaces with words, with explanations, with noise. But often, the loudest mind belongs to the one who hasn't yet made peace with stillness. Imagine this. A woman sits in a difficult conversation. Voices rise, emotions stir. Her old pattern: to defend, to justify, to fill the space. But this time, she doesn't. She stays still. She listens. She observes. And within that pause, she notices everything: the tension, the projections, the insecurities, not only from the other, but from within herself. Silence becomes her mirror. In that moment, she realizes, not everything requires her reaction. Not every word deserves her energy. Some things unravel on their own when met with quiet strength. This is the practice of skillful silence, not to withdraw, but to witness. In silence, you see impermanence, how emotions rise, how they fade. You see suffering, your own and others. And slowly, you learn to let go attachment, ego, old patterns. The Buddha never taught silence as suppression. He taught it as insight. A woman who masters silence cultivates invisible strength. People feel her presence, even without words. She doesn't rush to defend herself because she no longer sees herself as under attack. She doesn't argue with everything because not every battle is worth her peace. Silence doesn't make you passive. It makes you wise. So, ask yourself honestly, have you ever allowed silence to speak for you? Or are you still letting words run ahead, drowning out what you truly need to hear? Sometimes the most powerful thing isn't adding explanations, isn't rushing to fix. It's simply knowing when to pause. In that pause, the truths you've been too busy to notice quietly reveal themselves. The tension that once felt heavy begins to soften. And from that stillness, you realize, not everything needs your reaction. Not every situation needs your effort to control. Some answers only emerge when you stop chasing them. Let silence become your quiet companion. No pressure, no performance, no need for anyone to witness, just space for you to truly see yourself. Because wisdom isn't always about speaking more. It's about knowing when to lean back and when to simply let things unfold. And who knows, maybe in that quiet space, the invisible limits you've placed on yourself start to loosen. And then, once you've found enough stillness within, you'll realize this. Your words, too, must be chosen with care, because every word you speak echoes the state of your inner world. In Buddhist teaching, there is a truth often overlooked. Every word you speak is energy set into motion. Words are not harmless. They build, they break, they heal, they destroy. And over time, they become your karma. The Buddha taught Chan-gur right speech as a foundation for inner peace and respectful connection. Speak truthfully, speak kindly, speak words that uplift, not harm. But let's be honest. How often do we let words slip from frustration, from ego, from fear? We react, we defend, we gossip. We use language carelessly and then wonder why the air around us feels heavy. Imagine this. A woman walks into a room. The energy shifts not because of her status, not because of her appearance, but because of how she speaks. Her words are precise, calm, and grounded. She does not flatter. She does not cut down. Her language reflects her integrity. People listen, not out of obligation, but because her words carry weight, not noise. The truth is, every word either plants peace or sows discord. Every sentence is a choice to nourish or to deplete, to connect or to divide. Women who speak with awareness understand this. They know their voice isn't just for expressing opinions. It's a tool for cultivating alignment, building trust, protecting peace. But mindful speech isn't about being silent or timid. It's about being selective, about pausing before speaking, about asking, is this true? Is this necessary? Will this cause harm? The woman who embodies right speech becomes magnetic not because she talks more, but because when she does, people feel the difference. So reflect. When did your words last plant peace? When did they stir conflict? Your voice carries power. Use it with intention, or that power turns against you. And maybe, the next time you're tempted to react, to prove, to judge, you'll choose differently. You'll let silence stretch a little longer. You'll let your words become offerings, not weapons. And from that space, not only do you change conversations, you shift the entire energy field around you. And once you master your words, once your speech reflects calm instead of chaos, you begin to notice something else. It's not always the conversations with others that shape your inner world. Sometimes it's the conversations you have with yourself in silence, when no one else is there. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a teaching. In solitude, wisdom is born. But solitude has been misunderstood. Many fear it, confuse it with loneliness, with isolation. But being alone, when chosen with awareness, is not abandonment, it's self-return. Imagine this. A woman walks into an empty room. No noise, no distractions, no validation from outside. At first, the silence feels strange, even uncomfortable. But slowly, the layers begin to fall away. The roles, the expectations, the need to please, and underneath it all, she finds herself. Conscious solitude is not escape, it's a practice. A woman who gives herself space to be alone is cultivating inner stability. She's learning that her peace isn't dependent on applause, on attention, or constant company. It's in these quiet moments that she rebuilds trust with herself. She no longer fears being misunderstood because she understands herself. She no longer chases connection out of insecurity because she is at home within. Think of the great teachers, the enlightened ones. They all spent time in solitude. The Buddha under the Bodhi tree, Zen monks in the mountains. Because in that stillness, distractions fade, and the deepest wisdom rises. For women today, this is just as essential. In solitude, you notice your real feelings without performing, without pretending. You see the fears you've been avoiding. You rediscover the dreams you've buried beneath busyness. And slowly, you realize you don't need to constantly seek approval. You already carry enough. So, when was the last time you sat with yourself, not out of loneliness, but out of self-respect? Perhaps today is your invitation to come home, not to a place, but to your own presence. And when you've finally made peace with your own presence, when you no longer fear being alone, you begin to taste a different kind of freedom. The freedom that comes when you stop gripping so tightly to outcomes. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, all things arise through conditions. Nothing exists independently. Nothing stays unchanged. Trying to control life is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. Many women spend years trying to orchestrate every detail, relationships, work, others' perceptions. But in chasing control, we often lose ourselves. Picture this. A woman who has learned to enjoy her own company, to sit quietly with herself. But the next lesson is more subtle to loosen her attachment to how life unfolds. Instead of forcing timing, instead of demanding certainty, she begins to trust that life moves by unseen patterns. What comes, comes. What leaves, leaves. And in that trust, her tension softens. This isn't passivity, it's wisdom. A woman aligned with this truth still takes action, but without clinging. She gives her best effort, then lets go. She plants seeds, but doesn't dig them up every day to check their growth. The Buddha taught, all phenomena arise through conditions. You cannot command love to arrive, nor can you force it to stay. You cannot rush healing, nor can you script every step of your journey. The woman who surrenders to this reality walks with more ease. She no longer chases, no longer controls, no longer demands life bend to her will. And ironically, in surrendering, she gains her deepest peace. So reflect. Where in your life are you still gripping, still resisting, still demanding outcomes? Perhaps today is your moment to loosen your grip, to trust that what is truly meant for you is already on its way. You see, these 12 habits are not rigid rules, nor are they a burden, forcing you to become some perfect version of yourself. They are simply small doorways, gently opening, one by one, bringing you closer to yourself where peace is not something distant or rare, but a quiet sense of wholeness that rises from within. The world may convince you that to be happy, you must control everything, please everyone, chase exhausting standards. But the truth is, when you pause, when you breathe deeply, when you sit still, when you choose kindness in your words, when you allow yourself moments of silence, you no longer have to keep forcing your way through life. You begin to see peace has never depended on how others treat you, but on how you meet yourself every single day. And when you plant those quiet seeds of peace into small daily choices, from releasing control, to speaking mindfully, to making space for conscious solitude, you are building a life that feels grounded, light, and real. Remember, You don't have to become someone else to be worthy. You only need the patience to nourish your own inner freedom. So, if you can, gift yourself permission to begin not tomorrow, not when life feels perfect, but here, now, in this very moment. Start with one deeper breath, one pause of stillness, one act of listening to yourself before reacting. And with each step, you'll see life doesn't need to be chased. Happiness isn't hiding somewhere far away. It all begins with the journey back to you. If these words resonate with you, I invite you to stay subscribed so we can keep walking this path together. A journey of awakening, of healing, of living fully, with peace that runs deep, not just on the surface, because you deserve that more than anyone else.